Today we're with John Kelly. John Kelly is a personal injury attorney in Phoenix, Arizona. He's agreed to answer some of the questions we posted online. These questions were directly related to motorcycle accidents. If you're one of those people, he's going to answer your question right now. Alternatively, if you have been in a motorcycle accident, John, you can either reach out to John directly, you can give him a call, go to his website, shoot him an email. But he's also agreed to answer some questions directly below this. So if you actually have been in an accident on a motorcycle, just post your questions at the bottom of this video, and he's going to get back to you. With that said, John, let me go ahead and start off with the first question from the online user.
Right.
He asked, are the laws different for motorcycles than cars? I guess pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and it's actually a pretty straightforward answer. The cars and motorcycles not only follow the same laws, on the streets, but legally in a personal injury case, they have most of the same laws as each other. So when we're pursuing a personal injury claim, we're dealing with the same statutes. There is no significant difference from being involved with a motor vehicle or a motorcycle legally. There are different norms on the road, which we all know, which come into play, and those can be kind of come out with the factual basis and how it affects comparative fault or fault in general. But generally speaking, they're following the same laws.
Okay, all right, makes total sense. Next question we had was this individual laid down his bike due to a mechanical failure, and he's asking if he can sue the manufacturer.
Okay, so this question, it brings up a lot of different issues. He says he lays down his bike, so I'm assuming that the bike had a mechanical failure that caused him to have a wreck and then be injured because of that. So I'm filling in a little bit of the gaps there. The answer is that yes, you can sue the manufacturer. However, there needs to be an investigation done. And if there is a mechanical failure, we're going to have to find out what happened and what exactly caused that accident. If there is a product on that vehicle or on the motorcycle that had difficulties or failed, it might be a product's liability claim. And a product's liability claim is actually a lawsuit against the dealer or the manufacturer of that motorcycle or the parts manufacturer. So it's a negligence-based claim also, and it's something that you need to talk to a qualified person who is an injury attorney that can kind of guide you in the right direction with those cases, because they can become very complicated.
Okay, all right. Next question was, I wrecked my bike because there was a motorcycle. I wrecked my motorcycle because there was trash on the highway and I couldn't avoid it. I had some minor injuries and totaled out my bike. Do I have a case?
Yeah, so this is actually a similar case to someone who is involved in a hit-and-run accident. What happens is someone is injured and it wasn't their fault, it was someone else's fault, but we don't have the other person. So in this case, the other person presumably had some debris that was on the road that caused an accident. There is no person to sue directly in that regard, but most people have in their insurance policy, and if you don't have it, you should look into it, uninsured motorist coverage. And what that is coverage set aside for times when the other party who either injured you doesn't have insurance or not enough insurance, or we don't know who the other party is. And so you actually go and make a claim with your own insurance company, and you get compensation that way. So it is possible to get compensation in that situation, and anyone who finds themselves in that type of situation is definitely going to want to talk to an attorney about that.
Okay. All right. And the last question we had, this one's a little longer, so bear with me. Said, my son was recently hit by a truck while on his motorcycle. The driver never saw him, but my son was speeding. The police wrote it up as my son being at fault for the accident. He's facing some fairly serious medical bills. Even though it was his fault, is there any way to recover from any other of the groups or any other group?
Okay. So if I remember, this question has to do with the son was later arrested for driving under the influence. Is this the question?
No, this is not the question. This is the one. He is. He basically, all he's telling us in this one is he was caught speeding, and he was at fault for speeding, and the police wrote it up as it being his fault. But now he's seeing if he can actually recover from basically to cover some of his medical bills, even though.
Oh yes. Okay. So in this question, it was the driver's fault, and he's wondering if he can recover, even though he has medical bills, but it wasn't. But the accident was his fault. So this is actually a common question that I get, and there's a police report that wrote this individual up as being at fault for the accident. The police report is hearsay, so it's not all a loss when a police officer writes a citation for an individual and they make the determination that it was that driver's fault. There can be other investigation done to determine if there may be some comparative fault there. And if through an investigation we find out that the other person was even, say, 30% at fault for the accident, there is the possibility of getting some recovery there. So it's definitely something that any individual, even if they are determined to be at fault, should consult with an attorney initially to go over the fact scenario, what happened, the recollection of what happened, and see if there's other avenues that we can pursue to investigate the case and establish some comparative fault.
Okay. Well, John, I want to thank you for your time. I know the people that posted this are going to be thankful that you answered their questions. If you are watching this and have been in a motorcycle accident, please feel free. Like I said, John's open the door. All you have to do is just post your questions to the video, and he's agreed to get back to you. And obviously, you can also give him a call. Thank you, John.
Thanks for your time, Ryan.